Okay.
We are live.
Good afternoon, everyone, and good morning to those in the Central Pacific and Mountain Time.
I think we just lost Rick.
Rick, we can't hear you. We'll give you another second to get started.
Okay, Victoria, you'll have to take out. We just lost Rick.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Victoria Lennox. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Startup Canada, and welcome to Google Hangout Live with Startup Canada. Today, we're really excited to be partnering with Air Miles for Business to be able to have a boot camp on money, mentors, and markets. The reason you're seeing me is because we are live with Google Hangouts, and we're just having some technical difficulties with our host, Rick Spence. So for now, I'll be your chair, and as soon as Rick comes back on, I'll pass over the baton back to him. So I see Rick's icon pop up. So Rick, are you online now? Okay, we'll give him a few more minutes. So our guests today are Rachel McQueen, the Vice President Marketing Air Miles Reward Program. Rachel, if you want to just wave. We also have Matt Hill, the founder of Lawn Troopers. He's the recipient of the 2014 Air Miles Small Business Achievement Awards Young Entrepreneur.
Can you hear me now?
Congratulations. Rick, are you there? Can you hear us? Okay, we cannot hear you again, Rick, so I'm just going to continue. Matt Hill, if you want to wave, is the founder, like I said, of Lawn Troopers. Great. We have Matthew Giorgio, the founder of Media Spark out of Nova Scotia. If you want to wave. Great. And we have Devender Gupta, startup coach from Quebec City. And of course, myself, I'm Victoria Lennox, and we also have Tave, the founder of Menu, recipient of the 2014 Air Miles Small Business Achievement Award. So welcome to all of our guests. And Rick Spence, are you able to speak now?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
We can hear you now. So if you want to take it over from here. Thanks, Rick.
Okay, thanks so much, Victoria. Sorry, I got kicked off the system again for some reason. I'll have to pay my monthly Google bill, I guess. So we've also got Melanie here from Startup Canada. She's going to be our eyes and ears on social media. She's working out of Toronto today. So we're going to divide our conversation today into 3 parts before opening it up to questions from you through social media. We're pleased to bring this event to you through the support of Air Miles. If you haven't already nominated your business for the 2015 Small Business Achievement Awards, make sure you do it this week. The entries close on Sunday, November 16th. We'll have a little bit more information on this for you later, but visit amfbawards.com to nominate your business today. We also have with us on the panel 2 past award winners, and they'll tell us more about what that award, winning that award, meant to them. So now I'm going to ask each of the panelists to introduce themselves. They've each got 30 seconds in this preliminary lightning round to just remind us who they are and what they do and share their perspective. Let's start with Rachel.
Hi there. I'm looking forward to sharing my perspective as a marketer on how growing your business profile is an important part of growing your company overall. As well, I'm also going to talk about the benefits of being an Air Miles collector and, more importantly, a small business Air Miles collector, and how the small can help drive the success of your business further.
Thank you. Matt.
Hi there. I'll be discussing the awards from last year and how that really helped push our business forward. And I'll also be contributing my thoughts on money, mentors, and markets to improve our operations and what's that done for us.
Mr. Panampalam.
Hi there. I too will discuss how participating in the Air Miles for Business Small Business Achievement Awards will help by providing valuable tools and advice to help your business become even more successful. I'll also be discussing how our business fits into today's discussion, sharing my point of view on mentoring and your money and markets view as well.
Thank you. Matthew Giorgio.
Hey, that's me. Thanks, Rick. My name is Matthew Giorgio. I'm the founder, CEO, and Chief Experience Designer at MediaSpark. MediaSpark is a company that I founded 20 years ago, back when I used to be a young entrepreneur, not so much anymore. And we create educational games, simulations, mobile apps, and web platforms. And I guess my perspective will be from the school of hard knocks of 20 years of running MediaSpark and spinning out a couple of other businesses at the moment from MediaSpark. So thanks, everybody.
Fantastic. Devender Gupta.
Hi, my name is Devender. I'm a startup coach, founder of Startup Academy, based in Quebec City. Today I'm calling from Montreal. I'm also a new entrepreneur myself. I'm COO of Nemesis Industrial Intelligence, also based in Quebec City. So I'll be talking about how to use the lean methodology and the lean mindset to make sure that your business gets off to the right start.
Fantastic. Victoria Lennox needs no introduction, but she gets one anyway.
Thanks, Rick, and thanks for having me. So I'm going to be bringing to the conversation today just some high trends of what we're seeing across Canada and where entrepreneurs can go for support. So just general advice on trends and where to go.
Okay, great. Thanks so much for those very concise introductions. We're going to jump into the money part of our show right now. Obviously, financing is one of the first things you think about when you want to start up a business. How much capital do you need? Will you be able to make money? Where's the break-even point? Where are you going to get the capital that you're looking for? So let's get started talking about that. And Victoria, I think we'll start off with you because you're talking to entrepreneurs all the time. You've got a good feel for what the startup situation is like. What do you think entrepreneurs need to know about finance to get their startups off the ground?
So generally, I think that entrepreneurs, when they're thinking about startup finance, they're thinking right away about where can I go for money? Angels, venture capitalists, what accelerators or incubators exist. I think the advice that I would have is just to take a few steps back and start to think about actually financial planning and financial literacy. Do you have the acumen to manage your books? Do you know what a cash flow forecast is? Do you know what profit and loss is? Do you have a compelling business case that if you presented to a bank or to a funder that they would feel compelled to invest? So I think when you're starting up, if you're just starting up, to really think about financial literacy, financial management, and accessing the tools, resources, and networks available through organizations like Startup Canada, Futurepreneur, the Business Development Bank of Canada, of course, support through Air Miles and other partners in order to kind of build a team around you to support financial literacy. So first consideration when starting up startup finance, think about financial literacy. And then beyond that, there's a whole range of organizations there to help you, from Fundica to the National Crowdfunding Association. So if you have any more questions around kind of where to go, just let me know. You can tweet that to Startup Live. Otherwise, start from the beginning. Start with financial literacy and the financial management of your startup.
So you mentioned an awful lot of resources there, and hopefully people can go and listen to the tape later and copy some of them down. But if one thinks about financial literacy, as you advise, Victoria, and says, I really one place they could go to really get a quick course on what they need to know and who the resources are out there.
Yeah, I would definitely recommend two organizations, two blogs. Definitely the Chartered Professional Accountants of Canada. These are professional accountants who obviously know their numbers, so they have a host of resources, worksheets, templates to get you through. Also, of course, Intuit QuickBooks and other cloud source providers, they have their own blogs and opportunities for you to leverage their accumulated knowledge. So I would check out any kind of cloud accounting system like QuickBooks, as well as the templates available through the Chartered Professional Accountants for Entrepreneurs.
Great, thanks. Devender, you mentioned the lean startup, and I think you're often advising entrepreneurs to follow lean startup principles. Can you tell us a little bit what that means? It sounds like it means like we're down to 2 meals a day.
No. What? Startups need nourishment to be able to build their businesses. The idea behind lean is that you only build the products and services that people want. One of the watchwords is that life is too short to build something that nobody wants. And entrepreneurs, when they want to launch their business, they focus on What do I need? What money, resources, and that do I need to build my product, to build my service? And before doing that, because it's too easy to spend money, before doing that, the idea of lean is to get a really good idea of what your market is and what is the trigger for your potential clients to buy your product or service. How does it fit in with their needs? How does it fit in with their problems? How does it make their life better? And to budget time, money, and energy to do that research beforehand, so that when you're ready to build, you're going to build something that people will want right away. And so it changes the way that you budget. It changes the way that you go and get the money and the resources that you need.
Great, thank you. And there's going to be a story in the National Post next Monday with Steve Blank, one of the fathers of the lean startup. I'm interviewing him on Wednesday about a couple of things. So we'll try and get the word out a little bit more. Now to our entrepreneurs, Matthew, Tavs, and Matt. Tell us how you financed your startups. What have you had to do in order to get your business off the ground and to make sure that they remain solvent? What have you learned from that experience? So let's start with Matthew.
Hey Rick, thanks. Well, I mean, I've been around for a long time. We could be here for hours, but maybe I'll focus on just some of the key lessons I learned. And one of the first ones is that most businesses are not really investable, and that doesn't mean they're not good businesses for the entrepreneur, and the entrepreneur can make a great living at that business. But from an investor's point of view, most businesses are just not that investable because of the growth rates and so on that are expected. So you really have to analyze your business to understand if it will be attractive to investors. And this is particularly true of venture-based financing. It's very time-consuming to raise money. There's been a lot of times over the years where I spent so much time trying to raise money, and whether I was successful or not successful at the end made me wonder, if I only spent that same amount of time winning customers, would I have been better off? So I think how time-consuming it can be is an important consideration. When you want to find investment, you want to look for smart money if possible. Smart money meaning investors who know your industry or can open doors for you and help you in some way. It's not easy to do, but it is what you want to focus on if possible. And then finally, I'd say the number one lesson I've learned about financing is it really comes down to relationships. If you already have a relationship either directly with a potential investor or somebody who can give you a warm introduction to that investor, you're going to be so far ahead of any type of cold call. At the end of the day, it doesn't matter how fancy your business plan is or how great your idea is. It really comes down to relationships a lot of times. So you really need to start nurturing those relationships as soon as possible. Thanks.
Finance, in the end, although it can get very mathematical, it sounds like it's really about people.
Investors will often say they invest in people first and the idea second. So it's very much about people.
Okay, Tab. Are you with us? Matt, why don't you start and we'll work on Tab.
Not a problem. Happy to take over. Yes, I've had the opportunity to grow in a different path than I think of most business do. Just being able to start with really no equipment at all, no business skills from a very young age, and just grow organically over time. And that came from just reinvesting in the business year after year and learning as I went. And I had the opportunity to make that happen and to make everything all come together nicely. And it was from learning lessons along the way that I was able to really make something.
Okay, I think Tab is back. Tab, can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Sorry about that. Just some technical difficulties. To answer, yeah, thanks, Rick. To answer your question, we were basically initially involved in an incubator called Venture Lab in Markham that's kind of helped us find some resources on our end. And then, quite honestly, we were bootstrapping for a while just by building a lean product like that Davender mentioned. Just because I had some experience prior and was able to sort of secure some savings, and that kind of helped us to sort of bootstrap as long as we can until we found a client that kind of helped us sort of move the product along. And And then eventually, as Matthew mentioned, it's difficult to find an investor who can believe in your product, but until you have some sort of sales. So that once we got a potential client, then we were fortunate to find an investor who kind of believed in our product and went forward, and we never really looked back afterward. And then we just ended up focusing on sales to continue growth of our product, and that kind of that's kind of where we are right now. And I think it's important to sort of bootstrap as long as you can, just so you don't give up early of a lot of your shares of your company, so that your valuation is not as low as it can be when you're giving it away. So.
Right. An open question to any of our entrepreneurs or anyone who wants to take a shot at this one. Friends and family is often the first step for a lot of entrepreneurs, yet a lot of advisors will tell us that taking capital or a business loan from close friends and loved ones is a pretty dangerous thing to do. So what are your thoughts on raising capital from family and friends?
Devender here. I agree. It is dangerous because there's emotions involved when you're dealing with family and friends. If capital is really needed to get things started, ask yourself first: is it to build the product, or is it just to explore your market? I really like the crowdfunding revolution that is coming. It's just barely started, and it's a way of getting people involved financially in your business, but without necessarily that intense emotional connection. And so think lean and look at crowdfunding before going to friends and family.
Rick, it's Matthew. I certainly agree. Crowdfunding is going to be the future of funding businesses. I think much more so than the traditional ways today. But I'm one. I agree with the challenges of friends and family, and I've stayed away from it in my 20 years. So for those who can't stay away from it and it's really your only option, I would say only take the money from those who can afford to lose it all. That way, if you go down, they're not going down with you. And secondly, when you do take the money, make sure you have set out clear expectations in writing as to what the risks are and what the payback potential is. You never want to go in thinking, well, and I'll get paid back in a year or 2 years, and things don't go that way, and all of a sudden you've got communication issues. So make sure it's clearly documented, and if you can, don't take the money unless they can afford to lose it all.
Yes. To answer your question, Rick, I guess I wanted to share a story because I was in a position where it was a family of mine who was doing pretty well as well, and who offered to help. But at the end of the day, I mean, it was a decision on our end to say, you know what, we're not at the level of accepting friends and family, just because of the fact that you have to deal with them every day. I mean, it goes back to what Matthew and Davender said. You're going to have to see them next weekend on a weekend, and the only first question of discussion will be, how's the product coming along? How's this coming along? It gives you that, an added accountability in some ways, but it also is unnecessary a lot of times when you face them every day at family events and so forth. So it's a fine line to cross. It really depends how much, what kind of relationship you have with that individual. But we decided not to pursue that option just because we knew what we would have to face with whenever we saw each other. So.
All right. Okay, thank you so much. Question for you, Rachel. While we're talking about finances, on the flip side, can a program like Air Miles for Business actually help entrepreneurs with the cash flow by maybe helping them cut some of their costs?
Well, we created the Air Miles for Business program after speaking with several businesses to understand what could we do to help support the growth of their business. And one of the unique benefits is that you can earn Air Miles both on your personal spend, but also across a number of business-oriented partners like Staples, American Express, Bank of Montreal as an example. And so there's great opportunities to use that currency the Air Miles currency to reward yourself. Certainly, we heard lots from small businesses that their time is precious, that you guys work 7/24, and so having the opportunity to get away quickly is something that was desirable. So we've created getaway travel specifically for small businesses. But there's also Air Miles Cash, and that's an opportunity really to help take some of the cost out of your business by using Air Miles as a way to pay for product at sponsor locations. So there's lots of opportunities to use Air Miles as a business collector as well as a regular consumer.
Great. I like the way, Rachel, you accidentally positioned yourself so that logo's right up there too. So that's pretty cool. Okay, quick lightning round on finance from each of our participants. How about your very best financing tip for startup entrepreneurs? Victoria, let's start with you.
Well, my number one financing tip is to actually dovetail into what we're going to speak about later, is to find trusted advisors and mentors that can help to mentor you through the process around finance. You won't know what you don't know, especially at the beginning. So those advisors will help you to connect with the technology and tools that you're going to need. So first and foremost, advice is get help.
Okay, everyone else just jump in one at a time.
My best advice, get a client first. Sell, and then after that, design and build. Money from customers, even if it's for future delivery, or even there's many times that your key customers or suppliers will be part of your business and help you get going. That's the best money out there. Sell, and then after that, you can design, build, and deliver.
Thanks, Devender.
Yeah, I'll jump into that as well. To add to that, I mean, yeah, sales is number one, even for us as well. At the end of the day, cash flow. I mean, I'm sure a lot of you have, went into some sort of negative cash flow at one point. That's when, it sort of gets you alarmed and whatnot. So sales, sell, and hire the best salesman you can possibly do, and that'll go a long way for you, I think. So at the end of the day, so.
I think to add to what Travis was saying there is just to make sure you're always planning for the future, and you do have your rainy day fund set aside, and that can really help you in times of need and keep you going through the unfortunate situations. And you can stay out of those situations by really planning for the future and keeping your budget on track.
Thanks, Matt. Matthew, did we hear from you?
No, let me, thanks for the question. And maybe I'll share a personal story very quickly. Before I started my company, I was working at IBM as an engineer. My background is engineering, computer science, and math. So when I knew I was going to start a company, I knew I'd have to know accounting. So I picked up a book on accounting. And, with my background, learning accounting was not very difficult. But then I started my business, and about 6 months in, I ran into cash flow problems. And what I tell people is that you really cannot understand accounting and cash flow until you actually feel cash flow. And so, my advice is make sure you get a real solid understanding of the fundamentals of accounting, particularly sales, particularly cash flow, until you know it inside out before you start making some poor decisions.
Okay, great. Rachel, you get the last word here.
Sure. So, my only advice is, when you're looking at your financial options, to look where there's opportunities to get something a little extra. And certainly from a loyalty perspective, there's lots of options. Air Miles options being American Express and Bank of Montreal that can both give you a chance to earn a little extra with the hard money that you're working on.
All right. Thank you. So we're going to move on from the finance area now, but if you have any more questions, specific questions, other questions, please add into hashtag #StartupLive, and we'll get to them in the Q&A portion. We're now moving on. We're here today to talk about money, markets, and mentors. So let's talk about mentors for a minute. A lot of entrepreneurs will tell you, most successful entrepreneurs anywhere will tell you that they owe a lot of their success to having a really strong relationship with fantastic mentors, sometimes just one, often more than one, often a lot of different people who they go to regularly for advice and soundings and feedback, and sometimes just for a friendly ear to listen to their problems. So let's talk a little bit about mentorship. Let's start with the vendor. You mentor a lot of entrepreneurs, so break it down for us. What is mentorship really all about?
Well, you described it well. Mentors are people who have experienced it before, so they have real-world advice, and they also know how to listen, but the best mentors know how to ask the question that pushes you out of your comfort zone. And what I suggest to entrepreneurs is don't look for reassurance from a mentor. It's a waste of time. If you want reassurance, you can go to just hire a shrink or something like that. What you want is a mentor that will poke you in the right place to get you moving, but you know that the mentor also has your back. And I've been very fortunate in my career that I've had mentors even for me, even though
Pretty
sometimes
unique.
those questions that the mentors have asked me, I pass down to the entrepreneurs that I mentor.
Right. It's a give and take thing, isn't it? Take and give.
Yes. Yes.
Okay, and it's win-win. Matt, you had an interesting perspective on mentoring. You had some mentoring time with Kevin O'Leary. Can you tell us how that came about and what you learned from it?
Absolutely. It certainly dealing with someone of Kevin's caliber and his experience was able to really bring a lot to the table for me in a short amount of time. And his genuine interest in my business and what we were trying to accomplish was really nice to see, and be able to provide a lot of feedback that was actionable to really get us from point A to point B in an effective manner. I think being able to set clear goals and clear expectations for your mentor session and really sit down and focus in on what you want to get out of it will really make the difference between having an effective meeting and just time going on. So certainly be able to get what you want to get out of your session and have that follow up so that when Kevin gives you your homework or needs follow-up information, that you can certainly provide that to him, and he can look through and go through in detail. You know, what about this? What about that? And really starts picking your brain and gets you thinking of what you need to do differently and what you need to do to boost efficiencies over every aspect of your business. So it was certainly a very memorable and very encouraging mentorship, and I really am thankful to have that opportunity.
Very cool. So tell me, is Kevin O'Leary really a good listener?
Absolutely, he's quite different in person and quite really interested in what you have to say, and it was really surprising to have him quietly and patiently let you explain yourself and explain what you need and where you're headed. And to have him actually be sitting there, not because he has to, but because he wants to really get that out of the conversation, and just to have someone who's accomplished and able to just help out and do what he can to help other people is really nice to see.
Great. Okay, Tav, tell us a little bit about your mentorship journey as a winner of the Small Business Achievement Award. You were mentored by Dorothy Dowling, Senior Vice President of Marketing and Sales at Best Western International. How did that influence your thinking?
Most definitely. First of all, I mean, it was a great, we were fortunate to have someone like that to be able to sort of provide feedbacks. And as a young entrepreneur, feedback can be hard to hear sometimes, and it can be very difficult to fully buy into. And but what she did was she was very very organized and made us sort of send us our business proposal ahead of time, so she had some time to review it as well, and had a clear constructive feedbacks. And what was really nice is that she encouraged us to approach chains instead of individual restaurants, because at the end of the day, she saw something that we didn't see from our point of view. I mean, with her experience in sales and marketing, it was with over 20 years experience, it was really nice to sort of see that side of opinion. And she made us realize that our product was not for an average, no, mom and pop shop restaurants. Instead, it was a premium product with analytic tools that to take advantage of for chains, and they would benefit the most when it comes to sort of utilizing our product. And with entrepreneurs, you always think your idea is great, but you have to we always have to be ready to take advice. I think that's one of the most important things, and it might be the hardest thing to do, is to be able to sort of listen to other people when you think you're always right. And that's as much as I used to think that too, but you have to be listening to the negative feedbacks. One of the main thing we did was to sort of reach out to student groups to be able to provide constructive feedback. You can actually focus on that. And one last thing I want to mention is that she always said one of the best things she ever took into her advice when she was young is to always prepare for the worst case scenario. And what I mean by that is just like you won't be surprised if something goes wrong. So you always want to sort of put yourself in a position that you're ready to sort of take challenge at any time that is faced upon. So it was very constructive, and we definitely appreciated the Air Miles for having that opportunity for us to sort of connect with someone like Dorothy to provide her feedback. So
fantastic. Thank you so much. Matthew, how can an entrepreneur, a startup entrepreneur, maybe they're not well connected, how can they go about finding the right mentors and reaching out to them?
And I think that's one of the toughest things to do, and I think it's what keeps entrepreneurs from actually finding mentors. So I have a couple of quick thoughts of advice on that. The first is think hyper-locally, and what I mean by that is I think it's a lot easier to convince someone in your local community to be your mentor rather than someone who's not in your local community. There's just this hyper-local connection that automatically happens when you find somebody who's already in your region, because entrepreneurs tend to want to help others who are in their local area and their community. I think the other thing to consider is you don't necessarily have to find somebody who's more successful than you. In fact, some of the most useful meetings and discussions that I have been with other entrepreneurs in the same situation as me, perhaps in the same or different, completely different business than me, but we often experience very similar emotions, very similar problems, and we approach them differently because of our backgrounds are different, our businesses are different. So you can actually learn a lot from just your own peers, and it's a lot easier to find a group of people who are your peers in your community that you can meet with, once a month, a couple times a month, whatever it is, and just share your experiences. And I think that's as valuable as any type of formal mentoring.
Fantastic point. Devender, once an entrepreneur finds a mentor, what advice do you have for maximizing that relationship? How often should they meet? Where and how should they meet?
Well, Matt, a few minutes ago, hit the nail on the head when he said, be prepared. That's the most important thing. Let your mentor know what you've been doing before the meeting, and go in with some idea of the questions you want to ask and what you want to get out of it. But then the second part is, once you're in the process, let go of the expectation. So you come in prepared, you set the stage for the conversation, and then let you and the mentor figure out where is the real issue. And by being prepared but then letting go of expectations, you'll be amazed what can happen. Also make sure that you're doing the meeting in a quiet, preferably a private space, either at the mentor's office or at your space. But I don't like doing these kinds of conversations in public because they can get quite personal. And so find that private space. And then the third thing is, the frequency really depends on what's going on. You might meet once a month. You might meet maybe a couple of times in a month, but then you might skip a month. But all during that period, keep your mentor up to date on what's happening. Let them know the successes and let them know where you're having a little bit of issue. Sometimes your mentor will suggest, let's get together. It sounds like you could use a sympathetic ear, and let's get together. But once a month, every 3 weeks, 4 weeks, getting together is probably the average, and it works really, really well.
Okay, thanks so much, Devender. Rachel, Air Miles for Business has made mentorship really a cornerstone of the prize structure in the Small Business Achievement Awards. So tell us a little bit about these awards and what an entrepreneur should do in order to win.
Sure. So we created the awards really to recognize, outstanding entrepreneurs across the country, and I've certainly benefited from being mentored during my career. I now enjoy the benefit of mentoring other young marketers, and so when we took a look at what we thought we could bring to the table that would be helpful to the winners of this awards, we felt that mentoring and pairing our great sponsors in the program with these entrepreneurs would be something that would be of value to the winners. And so, one of the key benefits of winning this program is to get partnered with one of our key sponsors. As you've heard from Matt and Taves, they had both great experiences, which we're thrilled with. As far as the awards themselves, they're open for entrepreneurs of businesses with 50 or fewer employees. And you can nominate up until the end of day, November 16th, at www.amfbawards.com. We've got 5 categories. You can submit your nomination across multiple categories, but we've got winners in Small Business of the Year. This is for businesses that have been in market for 2 years or more. Last year's winner was North Strategic, which is a PR firm that just recently received other accolades for being a great entrepreneurial PR firm. We've got Startup of the Year, which last year was Village Brewery from Calgary was the recipient, and those are for new organizations, new businesses and market. We recognize social responsibility, that there's some great examples of new entrepreneurs that are both delivering great financial success but also giving back to their communities. And in 2014, we had North Shore Sports Medicine out of North Vancouver that received that award. Innovation of the Year, so you've heard from Taves already with his organization Menu, which is a great example of innovation that's happening in the entrepreneurial space in Canada. And then you've also heard from Matt, who is our first recipient of our Young Entrepreneur of the Year. And this was certainly an area that we were really excited by, and Kevin O'Leary was also really excited to be a part of the entrepreneur. He's very committed to supporting young entrepreneurs in Canada. So Lawn Troopers was a great example of the young entrepreneurs that are across Canada. And so I would encourage anyone to go on to www.amfbawards.com before the end of this week and enter.
So much, Rachel. Victoria, you're going to get the last word here on mentorships. How do you think entrepreneurs, where can they go to learn more about about mentorship, and where can they go to connect with mentors?
I think that's great, Rick, and thank you everyone for your great advice. I've been taking notes. I think just a few notes before I tell you where to go in the best way possible is that mentorship really is a social activity. It's all about relationships, and this has come up again and again. It's just the importance of these relationships, and then they really are, and they need to be learning relationships. And it goes both ways. Mentors learn just as much from mentees oftentimes. So just really making sure that you are creating a sustainable relationship, and also that you don't need just one mentor. There are lots of mentorship programs, and I'll go through a few right now that can help you, but that's kind of an artificial construction of a relationship. Really think about how you can engage with those around you through social media as well as through startup community events in order to create real relationships with mentors, even outside of programs. Programs like the Air Miles for Business mentorship program for the recipients are wicked awesome. But at the same time, all of us can access mentors, whether we're an award recipient or not, through just reaching out online as well as through our startup community. So 3 places where I think you should go for mentorship and finding mentorship, and I'm sure Devender has lots of ideas as well. But I definitely reach out to your startup community if you have one. Go to the startup drinks, startup weekends, go to demo camps, just get out in the community. And whether you're Tavis from Markham and Venture Lab, or if you're in Montreal at the Notman House, get out there and be part of the ecosystem. That's the best way to meet people and to surround yourselves. Secondly, we're about to launch at Startup Canada a platform called Startup Connect. We already have 5,000 mentors on there, anywhere from accounting and legal mentors to experienced entrepreneurs who can support you with valuation and starting to think about equity-based investments. So definitely go to startupconnect.ca. Failing all of that, email us at hello@startupcan.ca. Certainly with our 85,000 entrepreneur network, we can connect you with someone who can help. And of course, there's lots of organizations out there that can help. All you have to do is reach out and ask. Tweet us at Startup Live, and we're happy to help connect you to a local mentor in your community. So hopefully that helps, Rick. But really remember that the relationships. Actually, Devender's a mentor to me. Rick, you're a mentor to me. We're mentors to each other. And if we think about our relationships like that, we'll all be richer.
Absolutely. It's some great advice here. I hope everyone's taking notes. Okay, we're going to move on from mentorship to markets. If you do have a mentorship question, please tweet it to us at Startup Live. And if we don't have time to get to it in this hour, we'll still try and get back to you. So, do tweet your questions here. So markets, our curve, the people who determine whether we get 2 meals a day or 3. Let's talk about them. Today, entrepreneurs can start global. In some ways, it's never been easier because we've got the crowdfunding, we've got e-commerce websites, we've got social media, but you still have to collect from people. So, Devender, why don't we start with you? In the lean startup methodology, the market is all important, making sure that you're getting feedback from the market before, during, and after you start selling stuff is so important. So how do you think entrepreneurs need to position themselves with their markets if they're going to succeed today?
When launching your business, it's really tempting to say, okay, I'll go out and I'll ask people, do you like my idea? But that's not what validation is about. What you should be doing first is going out and listening to people, figuring out what's going on in their lives. What are their problems? What are they looking for? What are their dreams, their desires? And develop the habit of talking to people and listening to them. And then you'll discover how to position what you want to be doing so that it fits in with what people are looking for. People won't say what they're looking for. But people will communicate what they're looking for if you listen really closely. So take the time, get out of the building, talk to people, and you'll discover and some amazing insights of how to quickly get to market.
I don't doubt a word you say, but can you give us an example of that? You're saying that they don't tell you what they're looking for, but if you listen really hard, they will communicate it. Can you give us an example of how that's worked?
Last year, I worked with a startup, 2 women that were in the real estate industry, and they thought, okay, we want to launch a site that allows people to buy houses online. Well, there's lots of sites out there like that, and they thought, well, ours will be prettier, it'll be more easier to use, and all of that. But what I mentored them to do, and they went out and did it, was quite amazing. They decided to talk to over 150 people that were either recently bought a house or sold a house, and even people who had never even were not in the market at all. And they just asked some general questions and got their permission to record the conversation. And then they transcribed all of that was said into Word documents. And then we started looking, what were words or phrases or ideas that kept on popping up? And they got some amazing insights, and they realized that the big issue wasn't people who were selling houses. They have lots of support. It was people who were buying houses that didn't get the support that they needed and they wanted. But nobody would ever say that because house buyers want to minimize their costs. So this insight helped them make a real shift in their business and to target a lot more to people who were ready to buy their service, which is to help people help people buy houses.
That's fantastic. Great example. Thank you so much. Matthew, MediaSpark has grown into a global company. Can you tell us a little bit about how you first got market traction and how you found it when you started selling beyond Canada's borders?
Sure, I have to think back quite a while, although we do have some spin-out companies where we're kind of reevaluating the same process again. But I would say, when I started, I never really thought of our customer base being Canada. The way I thought about it is wherever I can find a customer, that's where I'm going to go. And I think we can look at that more effectively today because it's so much easier to find and win customers wherever they are. Of course, there are challenges with that in that sense that depending on your product or service, you may need to be close to your customer. You may need to visit that customer face to face, and that becomes more difficult. So you really have to analyze the ROI of where that customer is and where your business is, and where you might be able to connect with them. But if it's a business that does not require that face-to-face, then really you can go anywhere. There's not a lot of barriers to going to other countries. There are some things you have to consider if you're shipping product over borders, of course. But those are not things that you can't overcome relatively easier. If you do want to go into international markets, it's always better if you can find a local partner. Sometimes that local partner might even pay to localize a product to make it more conducive for that particular market. But it's really, I think it starts with a mindset of thinking, hey, my customers could be anywhere, and where is the lowest hanging fruit? Where is the location I can find the quickest wins for a customer base, and then start to go after that is the way I would look at it.
Okay, thank you, Matthew. Matt, we'll talk to you now. At Lawn Troopers, it sounds like you probably don't do a lot of global business, but tell us how you go around selling one lawn at a time.
Well, luckily there's plenty of lawns to cut in our local service area here, but it just started out by pushing a lawnmower down the street and knocking on doors to get a few sales. And then certainly as we grew over time, that turned into, we're going to put up billboards around the cities, and now we're servicing 9 cities and the adjoining communities as well. And of course, because we are fleet-based, it involves a little bit more transportation and other logistical issues for getting from site to site. But that doesn't mean that we can't saturate our current markets, and that doesn't mean that we can't have good route density in the areas that we do service. And certainly being in a city with 2 to 3 million people in the surrounding neighborhoods, I mean, there's certainly lots of room for further growth, and certainly lots of opportunities for the future to continue on the path that we're on. So I think with time, our market strategy has changed, of course, but the route service and the route offerings are certainly still identically the same.
Right. Okay. Thank you. And Tavis, tell us about Menu. Tell us about how you first got market traction, and what are your plans to expand? Tavis, are you there? Am I here?
I apologize. I forgot to unmute, that's all. Yes, can you hear me, Rick?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay, perfect. Sorry about that. Yeah, no, for us, you know what? We knew that building a quality product would actually attract clients and allow us to tap into our market. And so for that reason, we, even before working on a prototype, we found a potential client who pretty much shared their frustration that they're going through on a daily basis, so that we can build a solution for them, and also look at the whole market itself, not just to individualize their frustration. So they're basically committed to provide feedbacks on an ongoing basis for us to develop a minimal viable product for them. And once ready to launch, we basically utilize social media, friends, and even a PR agency to reach out to the media for our launch. And we knew from the beginning it will be difficult to reach out to other clients ourselves, especially when we had no reputation in the market. And we were young. I mean, my business partner and myself, we were just starting off, and we, even though we had some experience, we didn't know the full market to an extent where an average company who's been in that market for 10 years knew about it. So we looked for ways to create a strategic partnership, basically, with an existing player in the market who already had connections with our potential clients, which were restaurants at the moment. So that's when we were introduced to basically a big player in the market called Dine.to, who had over about 1,000 restaurants they had done business with, and we were able to establish a partnership that sort of, on a contract basis, basically on a reseller commission basis on their side, so we can actually sort of utilize their sales team as an extension to our team to sort of take advantage of the market. And of course, winning the Air Miles award didn't hurt at all, and being featured on the Canadian Business Magazine from one of the sponsors really put us on the map as well, to sort of allow clients to come after us instead of us going after them. And as for expansion, we have been exploring different industries, especially hotels is one of our perfect market for us. And due to actually with the success of the Canadian Business Magazine feature, we were also approached by Senior Home long-term care facility to automate their meal service, which is a project that we're working on currently, and we're continuing to sort of explore the current market and also look for ways to expand to a different market where we see fit.
Okay, fantastic. I've always advised entrepreneurs to apply for all the awards they could possibly win, because I think you get a lot of good promotion out of that. Rachel, maybe you can tell us what kind of promotion Air Miles for Business surrounds its winners with.
Sure. Well, I think we've talked about a few of them already. Certainly, the mentoring program is a cornerstone of the awards program. As Tavez mentioned, the winners of each of those categories also get profiled in a Canadian business publication, and certainly great reach across Canada with that well-respected, well-known publication. And then the third aspect is we provide each of the award winners with 10,000 Air Miles, so an opportunity for them to reward their employees, share those reward miles with their customers, and also take advantage of some well-needed rest as well through our reward catalog. So whether it's merchandise, Air Miles cash, or travel, lots of options with 10,000 reward miles.
Okay, we're going to get to the questions in a minute, but first let's just do a lightning round, ask everyone in the group. And Rachel, we'll start with you this time because we always seem to finish with you, so we'll reverse it just for fun. Rachel, what's your best marketing tip for small business on how to engage with customers?
I think certainly, awareness, like we've talked about, awards is a great opportunity for awareness. I think social media is a great way in fact, at the awards program last year, we had a panel including Twitter and Facebook, and they provided some great tips to the small business folks that attended that event on how they can leverage social media to help get their word out. So I would say awards are a great opportunity, and then amplify their story through social media.
Okay, thanks, Rachel. Devinder?
Be visible.
Best marketing tip.
Yeah, be visible, talk about what you do, don't be shy.
All right, Matthew.
I would say being able to clearly define your product or service and its benefits in a sentence or two to the particular customer you're focused on. To me, that's probably the most important starting point. I'm
just going to do moderator's privilege here. I'm going to throw in my second to that comment. As a business journalist for so many years, I've often asked entrepreneurs to explain to me, what their business is, what it does, how they create value for customers, and they can't explain it, or they take half an hour to do it and confuse the hell out of it. Absolutely true. Being able to master that pitch. It doesn't even have to be a pitch. It's just explaining what it is you do and how you create value for people is so important. Matt, your best marketing tip?
Well, I'd certainly consider offering more to your current customers that you have, and rather than trying to find more customers per se. And we've been able to do that by offering the Scooper Trooper service, picking up the pet waste before mowing the lawn, for example, as well as the fertilization and weed control services, snow services in the winter, soil delivery services. These are landscaping services that all of our current customers need and depend on, so why not be the sole service provider for that? So I think that certainly trying to really get what you can out of your current base, everyone wins.
Okay, Tavis, 15 seconds for your best marketing tip.
All right, so listen to your customers and just build a quality product, and they will basically market it for you.
All right, thank you. Victoria.
Thank you. Everything that was said, I fully agree with. I would just also encourage entrepreneurs to reach out to their local ecosystems, all of the incubators, accelerators, business support providers. They often have their own award programs. They also have access to markets and sales points for you. So definitely reach out to your community, number one. And last one, Rick, is really leverage technology. So you have tools, trusted advisors, you need technologies. So things like Shopify, Kickstarter, Indiegogo, that's going to help you to validate your market and refine the messaging as you go. So good luck to all of the entrepreneurs out there in crystallizing that pitch and getting to market.
Okay, fantastic. We're going to go to questions. Melanie is going to bring them to us from Twitter. The first question we had was actually for Matt, and they asked, "Can you share some of the advice that Kevin, some of the actual advice that Kevin O'Leary gave you?" So Matt, what can you spill?
Well, Kevin, I mean, he certainly did joke about, well, maybe you should look at buying some goats to. He definitely provided a lot of, I guess, action to look at. For example, he really thought that the marketing level at the homeowner's property could be changed to incorporating better lawn signage and more visibility to passerbys, because we did identify that a lot of our business came from referrals, and it came from people seeing the work on the street, and our current signage just wasn't visible. It couldn't be seen from the road, and just really just looking at even the small things like that made a big difference to us. And of course, we got deep into the financial aspects as well, but it was some of the other advice that was really unexpected and really I was able to learn a lot from. So.
Fantastic. Okay, a quick question now for Devender.
Yes.
How do you actually choose a mentor? Let's say you've got sort of a choice of mentors. How do you decide who to go with, or do you have to decide?
That's a good question. What the first answer that comes to mind is where you feel a personal connection. And I know for me, I want to surround myself with people who have a quality or something about them that I want to become. And so I would start there. But there was a comment earlier on also that today that you don't just have to have one mentor. Surround yourself with an advisory council, if you want to call it that, and people who have different backgrounds and different strengths. And you can have it all when it comes to working with mentors.
Fantastic, thank you. Okay, we've got another question. It's been made clear in the past hour or so that you should focus your startup financing, startup concerns on sales, so that sales are the best answer to anyone's financing. So how can we get to market quickly? Now, I know Devender has answers for that, but let's see, do any of our entrepreneurs have some advice for us? How can we get to market quickly so that so that we can finance ourselves through cash flow, if possible?
Rick, it's Matthew. I'm gonna support what Victoria had mentioned earlier, is use technology. And I do run into entrepreneurs a lot of times who think they have to, have a perfect website or perfect this or that process. But at the end of the day, you just need to sell your product. So, use technology. We can help you sell your product, or at least establish some baseline processes very, very quickly, and worry about scalability later. Because if you don't get enough sales initially, scalability is going to be useless for you anyway. So don't wait for that perfect solution. Get something that's good enough for you to try to make that sale, and then scale as you go.
Yeah, I mean,
Okay, any other thoughts?
Yeah, I do want to add something. I mean, utilize the network, your networks, your contacts that you have, because that's one thing we benefited the most that we never realized is once you talk to people, they know people that know people as well. So you always want to utilize your networks and take advantage of that, so that they'll find someone that may fit your product. You might find a client that may be useful for Obviously you want to reward them after, but talk to your networks that you currently have, and that'll go far as well.
I would like to add in there that I think that sales cash flow, if you leverage
Quick
your
question.
sales with pre
Sure.
and other things in advance, so that way when your customers sign up, you can offer them even, for example, a small discount to pay the season rate in advance, and that not only covers your capital costs and doesn't mean that you need to get financing from other places, but your customers have the peace of mind of being covered for the year in our case, and we have the added value of having that cash up front. So.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to try and squeeze in 2 more questions before we have to go, so let's just keep our answers quick. We've got a couple specific questions. One is for Matthew. Have you had any difficulties developing a global company from Nova Scotia? What are the advantages or disadvantages of being in Nova Scotia?
The answer is yes. Definitely have had difficulties. It's harder to access financing, harder to access people with the right experience, harder to access customers as well, because we just don't have even a local customer base generally. I would say that's true if you're in any town or city that's outside of our major centers. So if you can be successful running a business almost from anywhere. It's just that the odds are much higher against you the further you are away from a major center. So if you're not in Toronto, Montreal, Vancouver, Ottawa, and so on, it's just more difficult. And it's even more difficult being there than it would be if you're in New York or Chicago or Silicon Valley and so on. So it's just more odds that are against you at the end of the day.
I had a chance to talk to Gene Simmons, the co-founder of a new book on running a business called You Inc. And he says, get to a big city. He says, if you want to succeed, get to a big city. That's like all he has to say.
Yeah.
So there's a thought for you.
And
finally, Tavis, do you have?
Sorry. Go ahead.
I don't agree with him, but he's famous. Tavis, do you have any tips on forming sales partnerships? What do we need to know about forming partnerships to help sell more?
I think it goes back to, I think you said, Rick, I'm not sure if it was you or someone else, to work on your elevator pitch so you continuously talking about your product to other people. I mean, you cannot go and do research and see, who's the best fit for us, because as much as that's easy on Google, I mean, you have to personally meet that person and talk to them, build a relationship with them. It's not much, it's not much different as dating someone. You need to get to know them first. Nobody's going to invest in you or in your product without having to know who you are. So most important thing is to build on your networking skills and know more about your elevator pitch so that you can easily communicate with anybody and everybody you meet at any event, and the words goes far if they know what you do and how well you do it. So.
Okay. Terrific. Thank you so much. We're pretty much out of time here. It's now afternoon in Manitoba, and the day is getting on. We've all got things to get back to. So I want to thank our panel very much for your very, very useful, frank answers. Rachel McQueen of Air Miles, Matt Hill, founder of Lawn Troopers, Tavis Panampalam, founder of Menu, Matthew Giorgio, founder of Media Spark in Quebec City, and Victoria Lennox, co-founder and CEO of Startup Canada. Thank you for sharing your expertise and experience with us. And thanks to all those who participated on social media, who asked us great questions, and are going to talk about this and play up the recording that will be available. The video will be posted shortly in the Startup Canada blog. We also want to remind you about getting your application in to the Air Miles for Business Small Business Achievement Awards. That's at amfbawards.com. We look forward to seeing you again at the next Google Hangout. Thanks very much for being here. My name is Rick Spence. Have a great afternoon.
Thanks, Rick.
Thank you.
Thanks
to all.